Hello everyone. We're just going to wait for a few minutes for the algorithm to kick in. Oh, what a beautiful Tuesday morning it is. Oh, wow. How's everyone doing? Go ahead and put comments in the comment section about anything you want today. So I'm going to draw first from my deck of cards, the meditation cards. And we're just going to see what comes up for the universe as a collective. And it's interesting. It says, connection, I allow. And on the back, there's a couple different affirmations and a little bit of both the card. So I'm just going to go ahead and read one of the affirmations. It says, I allow myself to stay connected to my source at all times. Isn't this interesting that what is our topic on today? Trusting your source. So one of the ways that we can stay connected to our source is constantly being connected to our second chakra. So I want you guys to go ahead, put your hands over your second chakra. It is a little bit down from your belly button in the center of your body. For women, it's our uterus. For men, it's just right above the urethra on the inside. You can create your bowl to be bigger or small, however you decide you want to feel it there. Just go ahead and put your hands and just breathe some energy into it. All right. So as we connect daily and we move through, it is always vital that we stay connected to our source so we can get those intuitive nudges on a daily basis and on a moment basis, because the world is changing moment by moment. Nothing stays the same. As the wind blows and the water flows, the energy that is at that moment moves with it. That's why you're never standing in the same water twice, because it's constantly flowing. And you're never standing in the same wind twice, because it's constantly blowing. So we need to allow ourselves to stay connected to our source. So that way we can move freely and flow within the world that we're in. And this has been a really interesting last couple weeks. I've been traveling, seeing a bunch of different people and hanging out and having new experiences, learning who I am inside more and more. And it's just been this trust that the universe is going to provide everything I need when I need it at that moment. Whether it's somebody helping me or somebody, or me helping somebody else. It's just been that give and take. And it's been this whirlwind of an emotional ride too. Because with it, as we are challenging ourselves and our minds and our souls and our bodies, there's those new things that come up that go, ooh, I may need to look at that and to see how that really works. And so it's just been this lovely concept of trusting that I'm going to be in the right place at the right time for the right reasons. And life has gotten, let's say, upside down, topsy-turvy, but I'm having fun. And isn't that what life is all about, really? It's about having fun, finding your passion. What is it that really makes you tick, that makes you drive, that makes you put yourself first above all others? And yes, even though we're in our source and we're trusting it, we get to put ourselves first. I know you guys all think that, oh my God, if I put myself first, I must be a narcissist. Well, that's not true. There's a healthy way of doing it and there's an unhealthy way of doing it. And we have been taught that anyone who puts themselves first must be unhealthy about it. if we look at the world and world around us and people who succeed, and yet if they're successful and they have a happy family life, those are the ones that are not putting themselves first at every moment in time. There's a time to put ourselves first, and there's a time where we need to allow other people to go first. There's that balance, just like with everything else. But if you're running a business and you're on this spiritual journey, for those purposes, it is completely okay to put yourself first. Because it is the ones who put themselves first are the ones who are thriving. And then you have to have that balance, right? We need to be able to allow other people to shine. I think this is where that topic was this last week on being able to allow others to use their strengths versus using, like, being told, like, this is the type of personality you need to have to be here. Putting ourselves first is also looking at our strengths and knowing how they work within the universe. And when we are trusting our source, we are fully able to keep that balance, putting ourselves first, and yet looking at other people going, wow, those are your talents. I like that. Cool. And being acceptable of them, allowing them to put themselves first within their world. And I think this is also some of where that misconception is sometimes, is that when we put ourselves first, we think everyone else needs to put ourselves first. Well, we got to make sure that we keep it in perspective, right? If I'm putting myself first, nobody else needs to, because I'm doing it for myself. And I get to honor that for other people when they're in their world, that they are putting themselves first. And when we're in trust of this source in our universe, we know that our universe is always going to provide for what we need first, and then we can go out from there. And like everything, we're just going to keep on coming back to the source and the balance thing. There's always a balance. I think there is a lot of misconceptions right now in this world, and we're trying to figure things out, that we think that, if we're putting ourselves first, there's that word narcissist that is thrown around a lot. And I think it's really a word that is out there to throw everyone off. Because not everyone who puts themselves first is what I would consider a true definition of narcissism. It's just depending on how they're using it, how they're trusting their source. So these last couple weeks, I've been out traveling. I'm kind of decided I'm going to stay here in Mississippi for a little while so I can go to New Orleans and do a pop-up stand like in the French quarters of the square. And then there's a whole bunch of holistic festival, or a whole bunch of holistic shops around here. And then in Pensacola, which is only an hour and a half away. So that way I'm kind of in the center of things that I can travel to quickly and easily for the day to get things done and get myself out there. And so this is what I am doing right now. I am traveling, having fun, making connections. I know, right? Again, we're back to that connection card that came up today. I allow perfect connection. And so at the end, we'll go ahead and draw some cards. And about the connection, that was interesting that came up and it says connect to your source. But if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a meditation on this card that you'll be able to find in the archives. And it's just, what I'm doing is I'm reading the affirmations in the back, and then there's music in the background. And the reason why I did that is that there's sometimes some people really have a hard time connecting to meditation, and so they need the words. And so I just spoke the words into a meditation form and put it on there for everyone. So that way they're only like 10 minutes long, enough to kind of connect and release. So you're not trying to like, oh my God, this is a half hour. I am not used to meditating, that kind of stuff. Because I do know that if we're not used to meditating, if we're not used to emptying our mind, if we're not used to connecting to Source on a regular basis, it is a challenge at first. It is such a challenge at first. Oh, this energy has been really intense. There's so much stuff going on in the world today. So you guys, I'm just going to say this again. Trust your Source. If you get that icky feeling down in your gut area, which is actually your second chakra area, because we got to remember our stomach is technically up here. We get that feeling down here. When we get that feeling, we need to connect and then ask, is this out of fear or is this out of love? And if it's out of love, then we know, oh, okay, maybe I need to back off and not do this, not go this way. There's something that could happen, or I gotta be cautious about this. If it's out of fear, just back up and don't, or if it's out of fear, then you kind of go, okay, maybe I need to do this because there's something that I need to see, I need to be taught. There's something that could possibly be there that's really good for me, and yet I'm just not seeing it quite yet, and I'm afraid of it. Because a lot of times too, and this is why like a lot of people stop just before success, is that they get that fear-based feeling that something's going to happen because they've never had it happen before, and they don't know what to expect. And so our bodies are really, really smart, right? They know how to control us too. Give us that fear feeling, and we're like, ooh, maybe I need to back off. And when you back off, maybe that was the moment that you should have just went forward, right? So again, when we get that feeling of uncertainty, we need to ask, is it out of fear of moving forward, or is this out of love? Because yeah, there's times when we get that bad feeling and we just kind of go, yep, not for me. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm checking out for the moment. Because what's about to happen was not for our experience. Again, it goes back to owning your own reactions and becoming an observer versus somebody who's going to attach to everything and collect everything. So when I sit there and things happen in my world, kind of sit back and go, this is interesting. Do I want to partake in it? And if the answer is no, I kind of just watch it go on by for a day or two. And usually it leaves, no problems. If I react to it, whether I want it or not, it's now there. So we need to stop doing that instant reaction to things as they show up into our world, because we don't want everything that shows up. Sometimes it's just not ours, right? It could be somebody else's. And it's really important for us to know the difference of whether or not it's ours or somebody else's, and to move on with only our stuff and what we want. This also helps determine whether or not we're going to have all those negative stuff show up in our world, or we're going to have some of that positive stuff show up in our world. Because it's really important to only have the stuff we want show up in our world, because as we work through the generational stuff and we release it and we let it go and we're like, okay, I'm done with this, the universe is going to go, okay, this new you says you're done with it, but are you really done with it? And you kind of got to go, yeah, I'm really done with it. And then just move on. So, you guys, again, trust your source. Connect to your second chakra. That is your source chakra. There's so many times in this world that we're told that we need to connect, that we need to ground to the earth. But the earth is shifting and moving so much right now. And our bodies are made of carbon and the earth is made of carbon. If we can just walk outside barefoot or in some sand barefoot, somehow if you're in the wintertime or if it's cold, get a little kiddie pool, fill it up with some white sand. for you to be able to get rid of your stuff. Because right now, the earth is, you guys remember those toys from, I think it's like Avon from like the 70s that you would like pull apart, it has the shapes on the holes, and you pull it apart and you shake it to get all the little toys and the shapes out so you can put them back in. That's kind of exactly what the earth is going through right now. It's kind of pulling apart, shaking everything up, and then snapping back together. And if we're truly rooted to the earth, we're going to feel that pull, that shake, and all that stuff that's coming off. We don't want to feel all that stuff. We don't want to deal with all that stuff. We have enough to deal with in just our own world. We don't need the earth to pull us into their stuff either, into her stuff. She is a magnificent being, she provides a lot for us. And yet, we need to not allow our stuff right now, other than more than what she wants, because she is just uneasy with everything right now. Everything that's going on in this earth, in this world, make little by little, she's pulling and shaking, And so the more we're rooted into her, and we're doing that little tail thing out of our tailbone into the earth, or from the bottom of our feet being that tree trunk, the more we're rooted into her, the more of her stuff that we're going to get when she turns and flips and releases. And so my guides have been telling me for the longest time, don't do the tree trunk into the earth. Don't do the root from the tailbone into the earth. Walk naturally on the earth, and the earth will cleanse you and connect to your second chakra, to connect to your source. That is where this is all going to come from. Oh, that's a lot of information, and I get that. So let's go ahead. Let's pull. This here's another one of my decks, and unfortunately, I am now looking for a new publishing company for my decks. I've done a self-publishing, and they have increased my deck price from $10 to like almost $40 my price. So I need to find a place that is more affordable. But that is one of my earth challenges this week, as I am searching and releasing. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. And how these cards work is that, the top one's coming up, and we're going to go with this one here. How these cards work, because they're positive expression cards, is that as we go through and we clear things out, we want to replace all that stuff with positive stuff. But yet, a lot of people can see positive out in the world. Some people can't. And so these two here actually help us switch our mind concepts from seeing the negative all the time to seeing the positive, because with these cards, we actually have to look for the positive. And so this one here is cheerfulness. How many times as a kid were you standing outside like this with your tongue open catching snowflakes? Granted, like in the 70s and 80s, they probably weren't as icky as they are today, and I get that. But that in there, it says, enjoy the simple moments in life. They could become few if you don't. So when we do not appreciate those simple moments in life, they start to leave us. So throughout the day today, what I want you guys to do is to look for those people enjoying those simple moments in life. Whether they're having coffee with a friend and they're laughing, they're playing in the streets, just something very easy and simple to move through. And then the other kicker is make sure you recognize it when you do it. That is the kicker. Because a lot of times we can see when other people do it. We have a hard time when we allow those moments to happen for us. The second one today is awareness. Go within, to become aware of what is around you. So throughout our world, there's always things around us to bring our attention to new things, whether it's trying to go, ooh, is this being a distraction? Like, is this a pretty shiny object that needs to be a distraction? Or is this a pretty shiny object that needs to have my attention because there's something there for me? So, shiny, pretty objects can be good and cool, right? They don't have to be a distraction. But we need to determine what kind of shiny, pretty object it is. So you guys, I want to say thank you for watching. Have a great Tuesday. And tomorrow morning, I'll be on my round table. See ya and join me then. Bye-bye.